In the opening of Chapter 5, Utterson turns up at Jekyll's house in the afternoon and is shown in by Poole. He is taken to a part of the house that he's not been in before, a part that used to be an anatomical lecture hall where students would watch surgeons perform autopsies and learn from their practice. Utterson passes through this area up to Jekyll's chambers and Poole delivers him to where Jekyll is sitting by the fire looking sick. Utterson asks if Jekyll has heard of Carew's murder, and when he says he has, the lawyer asks if he's hiding the murderer in his house. Jekyll says he is not, and that no more will ever be heard from Hyde. Utterson mistrusts his friend. Jekyll then confides in him that he's received a letter and trusts only Utterson with it. It is from Hyde and confirms that he has escaped and will not be returning. This calms the lawyer's worries and he agrees to keep the letter until they've decided what to do with it. Utterson also says that he believes Hyde was behind the stipulation in Jekyll's will and that Jekyll has had a lucky escape, that Hyde probably meant to murder him. On his way out, Utterson checks with Poole, the servant, to see if a letter had been delivered that day, and when Poole says no, he is again suspicious and the mystery deepens. Later that evening, with Mr. Guest, his head clerk and a student of handwriting, Utterson attempts to analyse the letter that Jekyll had given him. Guest is familiar with Jekyll's handwriting as someone who would write to Utterson often through business and pleasure. Utterson gives him Hyde's letter to examine, and just then a servant arrives with an invitation to dinner from no other than Jekyll. Guest examines both Hyde's letter and Jekyll's dinner invitation and declares that both were written in the same handwriting, only with an attempted disguise. Utterson tells Guest not to speak of it, and then he locks the letter away with a bad feeling. Chapter 6 begins with Utterson growing calmer about the situation, believing Hyde to be gone for good, and Jekyll beginning to return to his old self, entertaining friends at his home and visiting others. We're told that physically, Jekyll is beginning to look like he did in recent years, healthy and at peace. This lasts 2 months before Jekyll again stops seeing his friends and gives Poole instructions to send visitors away. Utterson once again decides to visit their mutual friend Dr. Lanyon, but he finds Lanyon very ill. He is pale, gaunt, bolder, and his eyes have taken on a frightened manner. Lanyon tells Utterson that he's had a shock and he does not think he will recover. He believes he will die in a matter of weeks. Utterson remarks that Jekyll is ill too, and this brings a change in Lanyon, who says that he will not hear mention of that man anymore and that he is done with him. Lanyon says that if Utterson is to stay, he must not mention Jekyll. After arriving home, Utterson writes a letter to Jekyll complaining about being kept out of his house and asking about the fallout with Dr. Lanyon. Jekyll replies that he agrees he and Lanyon should never meet again and tells Utterson that he now intends to live a life of seclusion, seeing almost no one until he dies. He says that he has brought about this darkness on himself and begs Utterson to respect his wishes. Within 2 weeks, Lanyon has died, and the night after the funeral, Utterson goes into his office, locks the door, and takes out a letter from Lanyon. Inside that envelope, there's another that is marked not to be opened till the death or disappearance of Dr. Henry Jekyll. Respecting his friend's wishes, Utterson returns the letter to his safe. He desires to speak with Jekyll, but when he arrives at his house, he's denied entry and instead speaks with Poole at the doorway. He learns from Poole that the doctor confines himself to his chambers all day and night. It doesn't appear that Jekyll has been sleeping, and Poole believes something is troubling his master.